Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on an Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is seasons, the seasons of nature and the seasons of our lives, and cycles of death, rebirth, renewal, decay, all of those things. We get to talk about that today. Should be interesting. And before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the motion, the pressure, all the sensations, the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. And welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Great to be here with you today. We're talking about seasons as we're in the beginning of spring. You know, it's interesting. We're in the beginning of spring and it was 33 degrees outside today. So it didn't feel much like spring. Thankfully, it was sunny, and there have been reports of tornadoes touching ground all over New Jersey and even one in Delaware. And that's very unusual for this part of the world. We've had incredible storms. And I know that there are people in all over the country who have been suffering the seasons and accelerated weather. And it's just made me think more about nature and the seasons of our lives and the turbulence that we may experience at various times and peacefulness that we experience at others, and how as we go through time, how we age, things change and our perspective on life changes. And I think it's an interesting thing to look at the parallels between nature's seasons and our seasons. So, I think about adolescence, kind of thinking of that as a springtime. There's so much turbulence with adolescence. I don't know that I can create a one-to-one relationship of different seasons of life with the nature seasons necessarily. The natural thing to do would be to look at the seasons in terms of the progression through our lives, with winter coming at the end. But I don't know that that's entirely true or true at all. I can say that this part of my life has been so much richer. Maybe it feels in some ways like a peacefulness and an emergence all at the same time. Like the tumult and disruption of earlier years, the insecurities of earlier years have changed. have morphed, have evolved, have been healed in so many ways. And there's a greater alignment maybe with myself, with life. And it's an interesting thing to say, because we're living through or into or in a time of all kinds of disruptions, so climactically, globally, politically, and yet within our own personal seasons, we have our own changes. There used to be so much more drama in my life, and I don't miss it. But I'm wondering for you, as you consider this notion of seasons, I mean, we go through the seasons annually with nature. I certainly notice that as springtime emerges, there's more energy, there's more vitality, there's more creativity. For me, in the winter, there's the inclination to hibernate, to retreat, to internalize more. And in the spring, there's this surge of new energy and vitality. The summer is just enjoying soaking in the warmth and the sun, and the fall is shedding, and shedding the growth of maybe it's not just shedding, but also internalizing more deeply and then going back into sort of a hibernation. I wonder if these seasonal kinds of dynamics are something that you experience. I don't know that we necessarily bring these cycles to conscious awareness. I can say that typically I don't, although I adore spring for the emergence, and I adore summer for the warmth and the heat. And I love seeing the change in color and landscape in the fall, and the bleakness of winter. I have to say winter's not my favorite season, but it brings a level of introspection and reflection, perhaps, that the other seasons, that it's kind of unique to winter in its way, where there's this internal type of retreat, with the hibernation, particularly in the colder climes, where when we have distinct seasons. And so many of us live in places where we don't have distinct seasons. And I remember living in Florida in the winter and being on the beach and being just so grateful to be able to be in this place of warmth and sunshine in the midst of winter. And yet that time that I was there was also a very deeply internalized time. So what does it offer to us to be looking at seasons of our lives, not necessarily like we're going through a year in the course of our lifetimes, although that may hold true for some of us. I think that while we might equate winter with death and decay. Good morning, good evening to you, Gia. Welcome. So good to have you here with us. And Jenny, welcome. It's great to have you back here. 70 degrees in the Denver area. Oh my heavens, that's amazing. It was 33 degrees here in Philadelphia this morning. Anyway, so wonderful to have you all here with us. We're talking about the seasons. And so we're talking about the seasons of nature and the seasons in our lives. And we go through these annual cycles, but we also experience seasonality, so to speak, in the course of our lives, although it's not necessarily a one-to-one correlation with the kinds of seasons that we go through with nature, I guess. It's interesting to me that the energy of the seasons, like spring is this maybe somewhat chaotic emergence of vitality and life and newness. And I think we can experience that at any time in our lives. And maybe by invoking the energy of the seasons, we can revitalize ourselves in a conscious way, maybe to make use of the trend of nature to support us wherever we are in our own lives, in our own seasonality. So with the emergence of spring, there's an optimism that emerges. At least I'm present to that. I think I'm not alone in that. You know, as the days get longer, as there's more light, as nature comes alive again, as we see buds on the trees and flowers beginning to emerge. Jenny says, spring is my favorite time of the year. My daughter has a spring birthday. She turned 26 on Friday. Well, happy birthday to her and happy spring to all of us. There's an optimism to it. There's a hopefulness, right? With new life and all the colors and the green and the warming of the temperatures, and we can start to climb out of our winter caves where we might have been hunkered down and kind of in retreat from the world. And I think, you know, even in the course of a day or a week or a month, let alone a year or a lifetime, we have these cycles of energy, and they're all essential. When we look at the seasons as cycles of energy, we can see that there's an emergence of a springing forth of the new. There's the summer for me is a time of greater relaxation, you know, like just easing in. I know a lot of people don't like the heat. I happen to enjoy the heat. So, you know, there's the lizard sunning itself on a rock kind of thing, and just absorbing the energy of the sun and relishing that. It's sort of a vital resting rather than the kind of hibernation resting of winter. So at least that's my experience. I'm curious to hear, you know, how do you experience the seasons? What is different for you throughout these seasons? So the basking in the sun kind of thing is what summer represents to me. And so Jenny's talking about my dog Gus is happy the grass is growing back. He's been seeking it all winter. I would venture to say that Gus is not alone in seeking the grass, you know, that the green of the springtime is something that is renewing for most of us, where, like I said, there's this optimism, this hopefulness about new life springing forth, and a confirmation that life goes on, that there's renewal. Gia says, Mira, which part of the world are you from? So I'm in the United States, and I'm in the Philadelphia area, and this is where I was born, and have lived probably most of my life. I've lived in this area, although I've lived in New England and Florida, and briefly in California. So I've had the experience of being in places where the seasons are not as pronounced, and in other places where the seasons are really, really dramatic. Like in New England, I remember we had 12 feet of snow once when I was there, and blizzard sort of conditions, and I know a lot of people love winter. It's, like I said, not my favorite. I get cold and I stay cold all winter, and thawing out, takes me quite a while. Like, I feel the cold in my bones. So looking forward to moving to somewhere where it's warmer. Rosalind says, Jenny says, spring is renewing in so many ways. I agree, Jenny. I mean, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it's all this renewal, this new life, this new vitality. And I invite you to look at how we incorporate that into our lives, whether it's spring or not spring, that there are times when we have these surges of vital energy. Rosalind says, I look forward to the days leading to the maximum length of sunlight, warmer weather. I don't think I would do well in the snow. Maybe if I had a natural hot spring and an infrared sauna. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the cold, for me, there's this contraction that comes with the cold. And I don't think it's just me, but I know that there are lots and lots of people who really enjoy the winter sports, and the crispness of winter. I can appreciate the beauty of snow, and I appreciate it even more when it's far away from me. Gia says, summer is my favorite too, Mira Rubin. My body can't take cold. Staying warmer is my basic necessity. Yeah, so I'm with you there, Gia. So it's interesting. I've lived where it's colder, although we had a really mild winter here in Pennsylvania. No significant snowfall. Just like a couple dustings, but nothing significant. And so this was a mild winter, but I would not be able to survive without my my heated seats in my car, or a hot shower, because truly I get chilled to my bones, and cold is something that actually makes me want to cry when I get that cold, and can't warm up. So Jenny says, I'm from Wyoming. They have long, cold winter with record-breaking snowfall. They're having a late spring. I sure don't miss Wyoming weather. I don't think I would survive there, Jenny, I have to say. I've thought about Colorado, and it's interesting that you said that Colorado is in the 70s today. I know that there's so much sun there that it mitigates the cold of winter a lot, but snow upon snow upon snow is not my thing. It's just not my thing. So it's interesting, though, to recognize how seasons impact us, and to be looking at the different seasons of our lives. I mean, as I get older, I was saying, I notice there's a whole lot less chaos in my life. There's a greater peacefulness. And I wonder if I were to compare this time of my life in a general way to seasons, would it be, I don't know if it would be summer or maybe fall. There's a beauty and richness in fall with all the colors, and this beginning of an internalization and shedding of the previous season, of the previous year. So that's an interesting thought. I don't have anything conclusive. Like it's not an ever and always kind of condition, because again, we go through, within whatever seasons we may be in, we go through our own internal seasons as well, and they change from day to day, week to week, month to month. Jenny says, I'm grateful for whoever invented heated seats. Yes, Denver is the mile-high city, although not in the mountains. The higher elevation takes time to adjust to, for sure. And seriously, if it weren't, I call them bun warmers, my heated seats in my car. But if it weren't for those, I don't know what I would do. I mean, it is such a quality of life gift that I am always appreciative of, to be able to be freezing and get in the car and get warm. That's just such a treat. So when we talk about seasonality, what is at the root of that is change. And it's interesting to be considering change in the context of cycles. That the cycles of the seasons bring about certain predictive change, and yet, as spring emerges each year, new life emerges. It's not the same patterns repeating, but the overall generalized pattern is something that is cyclical. So change within cycles is something that's interesting to consider also. Jenny says we're at the beginning of the Chinese New Year. So thank you for that. That's another cycle. When we start the new year, in its way, it's an arbitrary marker. And yet we can allow that to give us an impulse or impetus for a new cycle, right? We start the new year, so many of us, with resolutions and new commitments and starting a new beginning in the midst of winter, which is a really interesting thing. In the midst of a time that is a time of, typically, of retreat, hibernation, internalization. And so the new year, whether it's now or in January, that somewhat artificially inspired emergence is also an interesting thing. Jenny says, oh my God, I had a mouse at my feet. That's an interesting thing, that the mouse would come out. I don't know if I still do, but I had a mouse that was very bold and would come out every night. I don't know what has become of it, if it's still around or not, but it would come into my office when I was in the office. It was really bizarre. I never had that with a mouse before. And so, we can we can look at signs and symbols. You know, we're talking about seasons, and those are in their way. I guess they're not entirely created artificially, because they're in response to cycles of nature. But the experience of those seasons and the distinct experience of those seasons is a very interesting thing. And I wonder how much of it is authentically real and how much of it is manufactured. You know, we create summer vacations, for instance, and so maybe that you know, the heat of the summer makes us slow down in many cases. So there's a relaxation that about summertime, the emergence of newness and the reemergence of life in spring. Of course, we are elements of nature, so it makes total sense that we're impacted by the seasons. I think it's interesting to consider how that works within us, and how we can maybe harness those transformations to move us into greater expression, greater authenticity, greater presence. You know, to be experiencing the energetic shifts in a more deliberate and conscious way. So Jenny says, beginning a new cycle in life. Yes. So that can come at any time. And I can say that particularly when I turned 50, I declared a new cycle in life. And it was like springtime. It was like a permission to experience life in a new way, with new dimension and new depth and new permission to just be more fully expressed in my own truth and my own vitality. And so when we're looking at seasons of life, I don't think that those seasons necessarily correlate to ages, you know, that we go through these cycles, that we can have renewal pretty much at any time. So Jenny says, absolutely a new energetic cycle. Yes. So I invite you to just try on the notion of seasons and see how that plays out. I mean, even in the course of a day, there are different seasons, right? There's the point of the day where you feel most energized, the point of the day where you feel most internalizing and retreating. Rosalind says, the mornings are my favorite time of day for activity, and the sunset time of day when everything turns orange is beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. So some people are morning people, some people are night people. It's really, really interesting to notice the rhythms for ourselves, and maybe to plan our activities accordingly, recognizing the energetic flow that we are that occurs for us. Anyway, that's it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. And I'm so grateful to you for your time, your heart, your soul, your energy, for your sharing. And until next time, so much love to you.